Hey, hey, hey. Hey. So, another uh, reading from Penny Dreadful, as you can read on the bottom of the screen. It's been a while since I've read to Panda. Busy man, you know. So, we are on chapter 4. This should be the third. This should be about the third video that I've done. So, please, if you don't want to be uh, behind, check out the other videos. So, here we go. Penny sneezed from the dust on the Kleenex box. The enormous bouquets hid her from sight, and several mourners stared at the flowers as they walked by. She hadn't been intentionally hiding, but still felt like she had been caught. The visitation was scheduled from 5 to 9 that evening. It was only 5:15, but the lobby and closest casket room held at least 40 people. She was supposed to be doing a last-minute sweep. Even at a visitation, Uncle Vic insisted. Presentation was everything. No chair or wall mirror could be out of place, not a speck of lint on the floor. But everything looked impeccable. She had even dusted the table behind the flower arrangements. On the off chance that someone might venture behind them and see it. And despite her tendency to spy on the mourners, she wanted to avoid them. She adjusted the uncomfortable shirt her father had bought for her when she started the job. The building wasn't the only thing that had to be presentable. Penny wasn't dressed in black and navy blue. Or she was dressed in black and navy blue. Her normally straight blonde hair washed and curled after track. Inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly, she stepped into the lobby. A middle-aged woman stood near the viewing room. Penny looked up and saw a girl close to her age heading through the doorway. The woman held her arms out to the girl, who practically leaped into them and sobbed. There were plenty of unabashed mourners at these visitations, but Penny hadn't seen one like this in some time, not even during her own mother's funeral 5 years earlier. Her dress that day had been just as uncomfortable as this outfit. Her father had told her to wear it. She begged him not to, begged him to let her wear something else, anything else. But he insisted, saying it was the nicest black dress she owned, and why wouldn't she wear it? So she suffered in silence throughout the visitation and service. She and her father had put on brave faces, talked, and focused on anything but the 2 coffins in front of them. But after the coffins were lowered into the ground, Penny and her father went home alone. She heard him crying behind the closed bedroom door. Just outside the viewing room stood a large framed photograph of Annalise Silver. She had dark skin and long flowing black hair. A black collar was draped over her shoulders, similar to the one Penny would wear the following year for her senior portrait. Penny was so focused on the portrait that she didn't notice when someone bumped into her. She turned her head and saw a tall, thin man. He looked about the same age as Annalise, but unlike the other mourners, didn't look particularly distraught. Maybe he was like Penny, good at bottling things up. "Sorry, ma'am," he said. He walked around her to the women from the lobby and went to rest his hands on their shoulders. No problem," she said. If you guys need anything, please let me know." The older woman nodded slightly, but none of them paid her much attention as she stepped into the viewing room. Penny wished she had thought to dust in here before the visitation started. The table beside Annalise's casket had so much dust she could have seen it from the lobby, had she been looking. But Uncle Vic insisted she not clean while there were mourners present. As she approached Annalise's coffin, a woman in her 40s passed by long enough to notice Penny and remarked, She looks beautiful. Thank you. And she did, Penny realized. Uncle Vic had done a remarkable job of covering Annalise's wound. Other than a small bump, it was almost unnoticeable. Her black hair was smooth and straight, and her dark skin free of any blemishes, and highlighted with dark blush and red lipstick. That's when she heard the whispering. He did it. A faint but unseen voice. She looked around, but no one gave any indication that they were speaking to her, or had heard anything. She turned to the young girl, who now stood with the trio of mourners from before. Did one of you say something? The older woman shook her head. No, nothing. Then she heard it again. He did it. The young man she had bumped into earlier was the only he in her general vicinity. He was now rubbing the 40-something woman's shoulders. But she paid him no attention, just stared into space. Did either of you hear something? Somebody whispering? The younger woman abruptly turned her head. What? Never mind, Penny muttered. She turned to walk down the hall, but out of the corner of her eye caught another glance at the lobby, where May Campbell stood in the corner by the flower arrangements, wearing a crooked, knowing grin. Few mourners lingered in the kitchen at the end of the hall, so Penny headed further back, past the employees only sign, through a maze of burgundy carpeted hallways and up a flight of stairs. Her only source of light was the dimly lit lamps along the walls. She sprinted up the stairs, thankful for the workout routine that kept her from losing her breath. She turned into the first doorway on the right and flicked the lights on, closing the door behind her. Caskets lay on wooden and steel platforms, stacked on top of each other and separated only by thin steel beams. She wondered which casket Annalise's Silver had selected. Had they chosen the cherry-stained wooden one, missing from its usual spot? Or perhaps the gold one, also missing? Ironic, considering their last name. She hadn't heard the voice again since she left the lobby. It was the first time she had heard them since working on Annalise's corpse the week before. Had that triggered it? Was she actually experiencing paranormal activity like Uncle Vic seemed to think? She wondered if she should tell her father, who was only a phone call away at home. He wouldn't agree with Uncle Vic, and he would probably refer to the voices as auditory hallucinations. But surely that's all they were. Hallucinations. Or maybe the whispers of mourners under their breath, people who, in their grief, subconsciously looked for someone to blame. The door creaked and opened. She jumped. Surprise, Stephen said. He stood in the doorway in a collared shirt and dress pants. There was a tie tucked into his collar, but had loosened it to the point that it was dangerously close to coming off. He carried a coffee cup, the same kind they put in the kitchen outside the lobby. It's where he must have gotten it from. Stephen, what are you doing here? Funny. I was about to ask you the same thing. Without invitation or hesitance, he stepped into the casket room. Isn't this place employees only? Yeah, I work here. What's your excuse? Ah, guess I don't have one, but I won't tell if you don't. How did you even know I was up here? He pointed back to the stairs. My aunt saw you coming this way. She said you looked upset, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm fine. But he must not have been convinced, because he said, she didn't freak you out or anything, did she? No. You've met my aunt, haven't you? May Campbell? It's fine if she did, you know. She freaks a lot of people out. Kind of has a reputation, I guess. He took a sip of coffee. His white shirt contrasted sharply with his olive skin and dark hair. Penny thought about May. Skin so pale she almost looked sickly. Apparently, this skin tone gene varied widely among family members. Is that why people keep telling me to be careful around you? Penny asked. He lowered the cup from his lips. Who told you that? My dad. She tapped her fingers on the wooden casket. Jesse, okay, that's only 2 people. Well, do you think you should listen to him? Do you think you should be careful around me? Penny looked at Stephen, directly into his eyes. They were bright blue, a contrast to his olive complexion. Weren't the eyes supposed to be the windows to the soul? What was Stephen's soul really like? Unfortunately, Penny couldn't seem to get a reading. But his smile. You seem okay to me. He nodded. So, what are you doing up here anyways? Shouldn't you be downstairs helping out the visitation? They don't need my help. At least not right now. Besides, I like it up here. It's peaceful. It doesn't creep you out? Why would it creep me out? Well, it is a funeral home, and it's night, and you're in a room full of boxes that hold dead bodies. Dead people don't scare me. It's the live ones I have a problem with. Stephen pointed back to the staircase. You mean all those people out in the lobby? They scare you? Well, I guess they don't scare me. They make me uncomfortable. I never know what to say, and when do I say something? When I do say something, it's usually the wrong thing. Dad says it's because I'm an introvert. I prefer being alone than in a crowd. And when you're with a dead body, it's like being alone without being fully alone. That sounds totally stupid, doesn't it? Not at all. He took another sip of coffee and tilted the cup in the air until he had drained it. He tossed the empty cup in the trash. This coffee is pretty good. I didn't expect it to be. That's just some generic store brand. So, funeral home. How'd you get this gig? My uncle owns it. He knows I want to be a mortician someday. So he set this up for me. My mom used to own this place, but my uncle got it after she died. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. She shifted her feet, unsure of what to say next, and blurted out the first thing that came to mind. So, isn't your aunt sort of a walking cliche right now? What? How so? Well, in all these crime dramas, a cop always shows up at the funeral. Is she going to question people? Well, they are looking into Annalise's death, but she knows the Silvers through church. So I think she just wanted to pay her respects. And what about you? What are you doing here? He shrugged, sticking his muscular arms in his pants pockets. Just paying my respects too. So, do you come here when you're not hanging out in your dad's office? Just once a week. I intern on Thursdays. I'm only in Dad's office on Mondays. It's the only day I don't have anything else to do after school. Not a lot of 16-year-olds hang out in their parents' office after school. Well, I don't have my own car, and it's too far to walk, and I don't like taking the bus. I never liked the bus either. Had to ride it all through junior high. It smelled funny. I don't like crowds. Introvert, remember? Guess you really don't like being around people, huh? Well, some people I like. She looked down and prayed Stephen didn't see her blushing. We should get back downstairs. May is probably wondering where we are, where I am. It was such a small, simple thing. He implied that his aunt had an interest in Penny. Perhaps she was just overanalyzing, and it really had been a slip of the tongue. But as they headed back downstairs, she wondered if there really was something May knew about her, or something she should know. about May. Dun dun dun. Go. Calm down. I know. Exciting book. Chapter 5. Friday at lunch, the cafeteria was bustling. Nearly 1/3 of the school had the same lunch period, and every table in the room was filled with kids in Letterman jackets and polo shirts. Penny, Macy, and Emma headed for a table in the center of the room. They joined a group of football players, muscular boys wearing their own Letterman jackets. The previous Saturday, Penny had gotten a message from Macy asking if she had gotten home safely. In the 6 days since, she hadn't brought it up at all. It was as if the entire thing never happened. "What the hell is that?" Macy nodded toward Hunter, a dark-haired jock who always wore too much hair gel, and pointed at something on his plate. "That's sushi too. It just looks different. You want to try it?" The sushi was really just a long piece of fish over sticky rice. It had been a while since Penny had seen any like it. Macy nodded and opened her mouth. Hunter stuck the sushi directly in, and she took a large bite, leaving the rest to fall apart on the table. "Jeez, Macy, you're making a huge mess," Emma said, laughing. A pep rally was scheduled for the end of the school day, and she was dressed in her cheerleading uniform. As she laughed, she tucked her short skirt underneath her seat. "I bet your boyfriend wouldn't like that." "Well, he's not here, is he?" Macy said, her mouth still full of sushi. She and Hunter burst into laughter. "Whatever you say," Emma concentrated on her own food. "Don't worry, girls. One day you'll have boyfriends and you'll understand." Emma shook her head. "No way. All the guys who hit on me are creeps." "Same," Penny said. She thought back to Friday night at Macy's drunk college friends, pointing out her seemingly good looks. Macy finally swallowed her sushi. "Oh, come on, Penny. Give us the dirt. You're smiling like an idiot." "Who's the lucky guy?" Penny froze. She hadn't even realized she was smiling. Stephen was still in the back of her mind, or even further up, if she was smiling without knowing. "Nobody. There's no guy. I was thinking about something else." "Like dead people?" Hunter laughed and slid his arm around Macy's waist. Penny's odd fascination with the dead was a running joke in her circle of friends. Well, Macy's circle of friends. The only people at the table she were close to, Macy and Emma, her other friends had either gotten different lunch periods or went to different schools entirely. Penny forced herself to keep smiling. "Yeah, that's it." "Oh, is it that Jesse guy? Are you back together?" "No, it's not Jesse." "So there is someone, just not Jesse." Penny blushed and covered her face. "No, there's nobody." "There so is." Emma leaned in closer. "Come on, Penny. Who is it? Who is it? Tell us." Penny groaned, wishing Emma had known better than to jump in. "Okay, fine. I do kind of like this guy." "Who is it?" Macy said eagerly. She was still hanging on to Hunter, but turned her attention to Penny. You guys probably don't know him. He doesn't go here." "Does he go to Morningstar?" "No, he's homeschooled." "Damn. I only know one guy that's homeschooled, and you definitely don't want to date him. Remember my friend Beth from Morningstar? He dated her a couple months ago, and everything was going great. Then one day, he totally dumped her, completely out of the blue. Probably because she wouldn't put out, but still, whatever you do, stay away from Stephen Campbell." "Do you know him?" Penny froze. No, I have no idea who that is." "Good. I'm going to go get more sushi." Penny bolted for the exit the second the pep rally ended. She passed several students on her way who were staying behind to talk with their friends or wait for their rides. Several of them waved to her as she passed, but she only nodded at them briefly and kept walking. Emma caught up with Penny as they both crossed the street. A school bus stood in the parking lot, its engine running and cheerleaders filling for the away game. Penny almost wished she could go too, just for the chance to do something normal. But none of her friends went to away games unless they had to, like Emma. So she would have been alone and even more uncomfortable than usual. So, how was your afternoon? Same old, same old. She craned her neck, looking back towards the school, where the rest of her classmates filed into their cars or began their own walks home. Looking for Macy? I think she's meeting her new boyfriend or something. She gagged. So, what were you going to tell her? Nothing, Penny said, still looking toward the school. Are you still mad about what happened in the cafeteria? Because if it bothers you when they make fun of you, you should say something. Stand up for yourself. No, it's not that. Well, something's on your mind. Do you think Macy's going to pester you about this new guy you're seeing? I'm not seeing anyone. Well, then the guy you have a crush on? She nudged Penny's arms. Come on, you can tell me. I promise I won't make fun of you. She tugged at her pink hair tie. Penny recognized it as one she had made herself. Emma had a knack for fashion and art. She even made her own church dresses sometime. Emma, you have to promise to keep this between us, okay? Okay? It is really freaking me out. Emma frowned. Are you okay? You seem awfully serious about it. A guy? It's not just a guy. Even though she couldn't hear anyone else, she looked around quickly to make sure they weren't being overheard. It's Stephen. Emma raised her eyebrows. Stephen Campbell? The one Macy was telling you to stay away from? Penny nodded. I met him last week. He's friends with Jessie. She left out the part about him being one of her father's clients. But that's not all. Ever since we met, weird things have been happening. Like what? Like I've been hearing things. Voices. And seeing things that aren't there. Well, it happened a couple of times before I met him, but now it happens more. A lot more. When we first met, I was shaking his hand and I saw this vision. It was a guy on a slab at the funeral home, and it looked like him. She shook her head. It's probably just stress or something. You're kind of scaring me right now. Well, why don't you talk to your dad about it? I'm sure he's got an explanation. I mean, it's probably just stress. Yeah, physics has been kicking my butt lately. Emma straightened her bag strap. I'd better get on the bus. I'll call you after the game. I promise. She waved to Penny and headed off towards the parking lot. Most of the students had left campus, and it was strangely quiet. She thought she might hear more whispers, but it never happened. Sighing, she tugged her backpack up so she wouldn't lose her grip on it, and headed for the field. And that is the conclusion of Chapter 5. I hope you are enjoying this as much as I am enjoying reading it. Mary is a skilled author, and I am very pleased. As you can hear, Go back there is pleased, and Panda's just got a stunned look on his face. He's still trying to register everything. Links in the description to Mary's YouTube channel and to the Amazon link to her book, as well as her website. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to listen to me read, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.